Hey guys, Tom and Kayvon here with Functional Fitness VA with your strength exercise of the month. Now this month we're going to change it up just a little bit. We're actually going to touch on something that is a stretch, but can have a huge ability to affect your strength actions and then also really affect your running as well. So Kayvon's down in what we refer to as the kneeling lunge stance. Okay, kneeling lunge allows us to stretch out hip flexor, specifically iliacus and your psoas, iliopsoas. So with that, what we want is, what we see a lot, so what we don't want is go forward into that guy. Now, what does this do? Aside from jam up your back and not stretch your hip, I don't really know. But what's happening is he's getting a lot of compression into his low back. Also, since this glute is not engaged and is entirely loose right now, that front of that pelvis really isn't being stretched. So what I'm going to have him do is I'm going to have him slide back, stand up nice and straight, that kneeling lunge position, and notice this foot's right in front of him, no big deal. The other knee is directly down below him. Now, what we want to do first in this position is we want to make sure this base glute is as tight as possible. So he's going to really clench that as tight as he can, and you're immediately going to notice, do that again for me, you're immediately going to notice his pelvis starts to roll underneath him. Now what he wants to do is he wants to accentuate that as much as possible, to start to really pull that pelvis underneath, tuck it as tight as possible, and then once we get in that position, I'm going to give him a stick at full arm extension, and he's just going to press down on that. Now, what you should feel is you should feel a really nice stretch that runs all the way from the mid-quad all the way up, possibly as high as up into mid-belly, because the muscles we're stretching right here attached to the base of your spine. Okay? So as they stretch and as they pull, decrease low back pain, increase hip flexorability, increase mobility. So now what I'm going to have you do is I'm going to have you come on into hip bridge. So the action we worked on here with last month was our hip bridge. So glutes firing up into that top position, and a lot of times what we see is people don't have the hip mobility to get there. They don't do the appropriate hip stretch. So come up, show us what it should look like. So come up all the way to the top. So this is what it should look like. This is our glute bridge. Now, did any of you guys find that instead of being here, you were actually maybe a little down here? You were forming, an angle here as opposed to a straight line. If so, we need to bring in more of this hip stretch. If we bring in that kneeling hip stretch, when we drive into these guys, we keep those abs tight and we run that straight line, knee to hip to shoulder. The other thing we see is if Kayvon wants to come on up for us and stand up. A lot of times what we see with really tight hips is we see how it affects the running form as well. So what it does is it actually takes that pelvis, take your arms up. So it takes that pelvis and it rotates it back, compresses through that low back, and this affects us in two forms in that running stride. One, we can't lift our knees as high as we should be able to, and two, we can't extend our legs as far as we need to either. So we end up running underneath us a lot. We end up with a lot of low back pain. Once again, all we need, kneeling hip stretch, that allows that pelvis to tuck back where it should. We can get the appropriate running form and stride, and then not only can we run a little bit better, but we can bring it into the gym and become stronger because of it. All right? Once again, Tom and Kayvon, Functional Fitness VA, bringing you the kneeling hip stretch.